I've been using some brand new spells in Hogwarts Legacy, including the Fire Tornado. I was always jealous of the Poacher Executioner that they were able to cast it, but now thanks to a new mod on PC, it becomes a slottable spell, so you can use it against any enemy in the game. There are way more new spells, a mod that lets you summon any companion to help you out, a rideable dragon, and way more. I will tell you everything you need to know in this video. A like would of course really help me out, and subscribe for more Hogwarts Legacy content, and let's go. But first, to the sponsor of this video, Clash Artifacts of Chaos, with a very unique art style that immediately grabbed my attention. It is also what Ace Team, the developer, is known for. So it's a third-person action-adventure game with a focus on barehanded combat. There are 8 different combat styles that all have their own unique combos. You unlock them over time and you can then easily switch between them. So it's up to you to pick the best moves against the right enemies. And there are many targets that you have to fight. There's a big focus on boss battles, so you will be encountering them very often. This also lets you upgrade your attacks, develop your own unique fighting style, and we all do this to protect a small creature called Boy, who everyone in this colorful world is after. So totally check Clash Artifacts of Chaos out via the special link in the video description. This lets you pre-order the game. It released on March 9th on PlayStation, Xbox and PC. Thanks to Nacon for sponsoring the video, really helps me improve the channel, and now let's get back into it. Let's start with Pestis Incendium, that actually has 2 versions, also known as Fiendfire A and B. So the first version is the tornado I talked about, which also deals damage to other nearby enemies. Casted near a campfire to destroy that too, which causes even more pain onto targets. It also interrupts enemies like the Executioner, which is great, breaks any shield, so it's really powerful. Now, it would have been cooler if the tornado stayed for a bit longer, just like the Poacher Expelliarmus counter, but still, it's a really fun spell to use, and it has a cooldown of 12 seconds. There are also 2 crowd control spells that are kind of similar. Obliviate, also known as the Forgetfulness Charm, basically erases the minds of the enemy, so they forget they're in combat and will just walk away in the middle of a fight, which is kind of funny. And you can also break shields with this. Another new control spell is called Convando, also known from the books and movies. This was, for example, used to fool the Goblet of Fire into accepting Harry's name under a 4th school. And in Hogwarts Legacy, it also confuses and paralyzes people, in this case enemies, for a short duration, so they're basically unable to do anything. And this also means that if you're not in combat yet, you can walk up to them and use the Petrificus Totalis charm to finish them off. Like, this adds a really fun twist to stealth, as you don't have to crouch, you can just run up to these enemies without being spotted. It has a cooldown of 8 seconds, and combining it with Obliviate, which has a cooldown of 10 seconds, means that you can just stun lock any enemy and cast all sorts of spells without them being able to do anything back. And if you cast it on high health enemies before you start a fight, you can spam Petrificus Totalis. Only when the enemy is in combat, you cannot repeat this tactic. So Imperio is still better. I will touch on some other spells in a moment, and also how to install the mod, but first let's take a look at a really cool companion system made by PES. This enables a brand new menu where you can select any companion from different houses, but also other characters are available that will then spawn in and most of the times help you out in combat. So sure, you can of course summon the familiar companions that can now go on any adventure with you and are not limited to the specific quest, but also other characters that you would otherwise never see outside of the Hogwarts halls can now be caught. One of my favorite companions is totally Mirabelle Garlic, who will then use plants in combat to help you out, and they by the way made a mod where you can also use her hair on any character, which is amazing. So I'm linking to that in the video description as well. I also had some nice combos with Professor Weasley, but still they're not the smartest. Like, they won't use fire spells against Inveri, dealing 0 damage, or they won't use the right spell to break the shields. Which I think makes sense, because these NPCs are of course usually not used in these particular combat situations. There are also other characters that can still be summoned and follow you around, but that won't help you out in combat because they have no combat abilities. So then it's more for roleplay purposes, as it's cool to have them with you in the open world, and you can create some pretty fun and awkward situations, like have Natty's mother help you out during missions she does not want her daughter to go on. Or you can bring Sebastian's uncle to the Undercroft. Sure, nothing happens, Sebastian won't mention it, but it's still an interesting sight. When you summon a new character from the menu, the other companion will just walk away, so you can only have one companion active at a time, and during missions with a companion, it means that the quest companion will not help you in favor of the character you summoned. And you can even have villains follow you around, but also here I had some trouble having them fight with me. Like, it's not perfect, but I still think it works really well, and it of course adds a brand new feature to the game that is otherwise not present. If you fly away with your broom, the companions will spawn next to you when you land, and the same after fast traveling. And I thought it was interesting that the fast travel lady actually has different lines if you're traveling with a companion.
Travel is always much more enjoyable with a friend.
And I don't think I've heard these before during main missions, like we went back to some older footage but did not see it. Of course, if you heard them before, let me know. Otherwise, it's interesting that these lines are in the game. Maybe they had a companion system but cut it before launch, or is this a hint at multiplayer? Probably not, but I still thought it was interesting. So a link to each mod will be in the video description, and in the description of each mod you will also see how you can install them. And I also put a link to a mod that lets you silence the flu lady. 50k people have used this, so I really hope they also add this as a setting for console players. Another mod I really like are the dragon mounts, made by Shoei and uploaded by Surye, and I hope I pronounced those names right. This changes the hippogriff mount into a dragon, and it's just very well made. So now the moment you equip the hippogriff in the menu and then summon your mount, you're riding a Hebridean black instead. You can just walk around, but flying is even more fun, and I'm playing with a controller, and there's even feedback based on the wings. It feels legit, and it looks really awesome. There are also multiple variants: the green Welsh, which quite awesome, the Hungarian Horntail, and the pretty wild Ethereal. I always use my broom, but having dragons totally makes me switch to different flying mounts more often. And you can, by the way, also put them in your vivarium, which is really awesome. And yes, there are baby dragons. Now on to some other new spells that you can use, like the Window Maxima, a better version of the regular damage spell. It also goes through multiple enemies if you line them up correctly. And as you can see, it moves a bit faster as well compared to the regular Window spell, and actually deals 100 more damage, or 200 if you combine it with Glacius. And of course remember the Deathly Hallows quest, right? Where everything turns black and white, and your basic shots change as well. And well, with this Spellmaster mod, you can also use that variant outside of that trial. Like, it becomes a new slottable damage spell, which they just call Stupefy, but you can now cast it at any time and you don't have to parry first. But more interesting is that it can also be used as part of your basic shot combo. So instead of 4 basic shots, you can do 2, then cast Stupefy as the first shot, and then finish the combo off with the finisher, which of course also deals increased damage. And with one version of the mod, you can cast these spells without a cooldown, so then you can do the full 4-hit combo, just like in the third trial, with only Stupefy. This deals way more damage than the regular basic shot, even without the damage increase on the 4th hit. And then last but not least is version B of the Pestus Incendium spell, which actually deals more damage than a tornado and can also hit enemies that are close to each other with a really decent range, like taking out these wolves instantly. It also goes through every shield and is really fun to use without cooldowns, leaves a cursed mark on enemies, so you can of course combine it with one of the unforgivable curses. I only had an issue against spiders, like they would not die, just stay alive with 1 health. But overall, it's a really great spell, and I will leave a link to that Spellmaster mod in the video description. Always smart to back up your saves, by the way, before using mods, just to be sure. Also a video on how to do that in the video description. And I want to showcase more of these mods, so let me know which ones you are using, so I might try them out. And subscribe for more Hogwarts Legacy videos. A like would of course really help me out. Check out Clash Artifacts of Chaos via the link in the pinned comment, and the previous Hogwarts Legacy video is on the screen. I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.